The 16th day of December. The birds awoke Archibald from his sleep in the forest. He crawled out from under the roots of a tree that he had discovered on his journey back to the glen. "Good morning, little birds," he said. A rabbit hopped out in front of him under a log and scampered through their bush, her white fur coat blending in with the snow. A pair of winter pigeons began to coo in the trees above Archibald's head. "I could stay here forever," he sighed. He had never seen the creatures of the forest before. As he continued exploring, he came to a brook that had frozen over, except for a thin stream in the middle. "What strange glass," he thought, seeing his reflection in the ice below. He had never seen a frozen brook before. As he bent over to admire his reflection, he lost his balance and tumbled off the bank into the ice. Down and down the brook he slid, his arms and feet waving in the frosty air. "Whee!" Archibald cried. It was the most fun he had ever had. Archibald thundered along on his stomach, faster and faster. Suddenly, the brook took a sharp turn, and Archibald flew from the ice onto the snowbank. He sat up and shook the snow from his fur, a little dizzy from his trip down the brook. "What an adventure!" he shouted up to the sky. He looked around in surprise. "I can't believe my eyes," he said. Slowly rising to his feet, he was in the middle of the prince's Christmas tree forest. There were hundreds and hundreds of trees. This must be paradise, he thought. He admired the spruce, pines, and fir trees that surrounded him. "This is a perfect spot to eat breakfast." He sat in the middle of the Christmas tree forest and unpacked his lunch Tandra had prepared for him. In a forest, in a glen, in a field, or fox's den, there grows a seed, a little each day, bursting forth on the 1st of May. Through rains of spring and summer's warmth, under autumn's cloak and winds from the north, little seed grows, strong and tall, until that day it decks the halls. Balls of glass sparkle on green, presents wrapped with all our dreams. Candy canes dangle, and strings of berries adorn your figure to make us merry. Archibald spent the rest of the morning admiring the trees, and then the bite of the north wind reminded him that he had to continue his journey to Troll Castle. "I almost forgot about Spike," he said, as he set off into the wind towards the glen. The nieces had finally returned to the safety of the Niece Palace. They had finished lunch, and Pendulum was packing his oiling can into his tinkering belt. "It certainly is wonderful to visit the Niece Palace again," Pendulum said. "But now I have to continue on to the royal palace and find the magic compass. The Niece Palace could be next on the prince's list." "Be careful, Pendulum," Balto continued. "Fanica could be anywhere." "I'll be careful, and if everything goes according to plan, I may be back in time for supper." And be careful that the humans at the royal palace don't see you," Tandra added. "I'll be doubtfully careful." Balto opened the trap door in the floor, and Pendulum disappeared into the burrow that would take him to the royal palace. "Good luck," Tandra whispered as Balto closed the trap door. Clipper decided to climb the tower and check on all the palaces that had disappeared while they were away. Early that afternoon, Miranda and the prince were out for a ride in the royal sleigh. The 2 horses trotted along the forested path. The prince had insisted that Miranda accompany him to the Christmas tree forest. "You will choose your favorite tree in front of my eyes, so there will be no mistake," he said, smiling. "And I'll have witness to make sure. You won't be able to play games anymore." Miranda's voice was frosty in the air. "I don't play games, Your Highness." The sleigh came to a bend. "Stop the sleigh," he shouted. "Stop!" The prince reined the horses in, and the sleigh came to a halt. "What's the matter?" "Where is it?" she cried. "Where's what?" "The White Palace. Where's the White Palace? It should be right over there." "I made it vanish," the prince said, laughing. Miranda jumped from the sleigh, and the prince followed her. "But Pendulum lived in the White Palace. You destroyed his home," she cried, as she traced her footsteps to the outline of the snow where the White Palace once stood. "Who's Pendulum?" the prince asked. "A niece," Miranda answered. The prince threw his arms into the air. "Not again. Not more talk about the nieces." "It's so typical of you," Miranda shouted. "Uncle Chloe's right. You never listen to anyone but yourself. He says your father was a good listener, and—" "Yes, I know, and his father before him, Miranda. How many times do I have to tell you that I am who I am? I know I made some mistakes along the way, but—" "Some mistakes? All right, I've made many mistakes along the way, but they are my mistakes. A prince is like everyone else in the kingdom." "In what way could you possibly be like anyone else in the kingdom?" Miranda asked. "I have the right to fail, and to learn from my mistakes, and so do you." "Don't change the subject. We're talking about nieces." "Miranda, I want you to stop talking about nieces. I don't find it funny anymore," the prince said, returning in the sleigh. "Of course it isn't funny," Miranda said. "You and that magic compass. It's all your fault." Miranda yanked the magic compass from around the prince's neck. "Miranda, give that back to me. Be careful. It's magic," the prince warned. chasing Miranda around the sleigh. I'm going to destroy it, Miranda threatened, holding the compass above her head. No, wait, the prince shouted. If you give me back the compass, I'll release Chloe. Miranda lowered her arms. Do you promise? Yes, Miranda, I promise, but you must promise me something in return. What? You must promise to continue the work on the new palace. In 9 days it'll be Christmas. I can't, Miranda answered, leaning against the runners of the sleigh. The prince sat down beside her. Why not? Because you're going to destroy the Nice palace. The prince gently removed the compass from Miranda's hands. What's so special with the Nice palace? Miranda thought for a moment, then said, Come with me to the Nice palace tomorrow. I'll show you. It's the only way to make you understand. The prince didn't answer. If you come with me, Miranda continued, I'll do my best to finish the Christmas palace by Christmas Day. What do you want to show me at the Nice palace? He said. He hadn't been to the Nice palace in years. I want you to meet some friends. Now come on, it's cold. We should get back to the royal palace. You have a promise to keep, Miranda said, and they both climbed into the sleigh. The prince and Miranda were not alone in the forest. Finnique had climbed out from the briars to discover that the trail of the Nices ended at the White Palace. When the White Palace disappeared, the Nices' footprints had also disappeared. She had been sitting waiting behind a rock covered with snow when the prince and Miranda had stopped in their sleigh. She had overheard everything they said. A magic compass, she whispered. I bet it's shiny. I want it. She climbed up back into the back of the sleigh, out of sight, just as it was pulling away. Best of all, she said to herself, these humans will take me to the Nice palace. Soon the Nice handbook will be mine. As the sleigh raced towards the royal palace carrying an unwelcome passenger, Archibald had finally returned to Troll Castle. He searched everywhere, but couldn't find Finnique. He was happy, though, to be home with his best friend Spike. Come on, Spike, let's go for a walk. I want to tell you all about my adventure. I'm sure Finnique will turn up soon. They came to the clearing where Archibald had planted his little Christmas tree. It had grown 3 feet while he was gone. Dreams really do come true, he whispered, giving Spike a big hug as they sat under the Christmas tree, and they stayed there all night. It had been another busy day in the kingdom. Would Miranda and the prince lead Finnique to the Nice palace? And would Miranda convince the prince that Nices really did exist? Until tomorrow. Good night.